Tim Smokeoff, MatrixCare. All right. Come on up. So as Tim is getting set up here, I think customer stories, prospect stories, it's always good. Hear different use cases and just, what companies are thinking as it relates to AI. And so we got a great one coming up here with MatrixCare. So, Tim, when you're ready, man. Up.
Slide. Yes. So while they're doing that, MatrixCare is a healthcare company. We've
You're on. Okay.
focused on out-of-hospital care. If you're familiar with inpatient care, say Epic or Cerner type of systems, we're the equivalent of that for outside the hospital. Electronic medical record systems, clinical documentation systems in the home, billing, coding, claims processing, collections. We do all of that through a software platform for several thousand customers in the US, largely a US-based company. We're actually part of ResMed, which is our parent company. ResMed's a multi-billion-dollar sleep company. If you have sleep apnea, you probably have heard of ResMed. If you don't have sleep apnea, you probably haven't heard of them. So what I'm going to share with you is a little bit about how we've used Druid to help delight our customers. It's a common theme within MatrixCare about delighting our customers, and we're on a journey from where we weren't necessarily delighting our customers to where we're delighting them today. So under the MatrixCare banner, we support a variety of different settings in the home, whether it's a long-term care facility, a hospice, a home health organization. And while it looks like it's one consistent platform, it's actually about 20 different systems underneath that we try to provide a consistent experience out to our user community. So as a starting point, if you follow the US healthcare market, you kind of understand that nursing turnover is a big deal. In our customer base, they lose anywhere from 25 to 55% of their employees on an annual basis. It creates a huge issue for them in terms of onboarding, training, and keeping them up and running. In our system today, they either call directly into support or they can go online into a support community and ask a question or search for documents. And the biggest piece of feedback that we have is, I can't find anything. Your documents are outdated. They're not consistent. And when they call into support, they would say that their biggest issue is the quality of support that they got was very dependent on who answered the phone. It was a very inconsistent process because we have turnover too that we have to struggle with. Our response time was off by an order of magnitude. When I came on board about a year ago at MatrixCare, and I was asking my team, so what's our typical response time? And they said about 20. I thought, 20 minutes is pretty good. It was 20 hours is our typical response time, off by an entire order of magnitude. And so that's really the problem that we went after to fix. What we found is that 60% of the calls that come in were no action required, purely coaching. People were asking, how do I do something in the system? And that's really where we focused this effort around with Druid. So last year we had some cost pressure within our business, and my sister groups all decided to push support offshore. I chose not to do that. I thought it was going to be a terrible user experience to have my customer support professional be in the Philippines or off in India, and it turned out to be the case. The other sister groups saw their net promoter scores come down, they saw their customer satisfaction scores come down, and at the same time as we rolled out our new systems, we were going the other way. What we tried to do here was to leverage the Druid system to really become a self-service tier 1 support system to allow my support people to be tier 2, tier 3. Really just change the whole dynamic of having anybody just call in to be able to go online and get a response almost instantaneously and not wait 20 hours for somebody to call them back. Interestingly enough, it's allowed us to actually roll out a premium support offering that we can bill for if they want a higher level of touch. So not only did we take cost out, we were actually generating more revenue by creating additional systems around this. So we did a bake-off. We went out and searched, talked to some other companies, identified 5 companies that we were interested in. Some of the selection criteria was we wanted to do more than just support. You could see how you could take the system as we went through today. I have dozens of notes of things that I could start to apply Druid to around my line of business, around how my clinicians interact with the system, how the patients interact with the systems and get responses back. So we're looking for more than just a support platform. It needed to integrate with Salesforce, it needed to integrate with SharePoint, it needed to be integrated into our call center platform. And because of HIPAA, we wanted to be able to host it internally as well. So that was a key consideration for us at the end of the day, our ability to actually host this ourselves as we connect it into our line of business systems. What we found at the end was Druid for us was just the clear winner. The functionality was so much higher, the ease of use was so much higher, and we had great interaction with the team. I think Dan stepped out. Oh, Dan's back there. Dan became very ingrained in our process, and he was always available. And I think you were learning on the way as well about some of the things that we were trying to do within the healthcare space. And it just turned into a really good partnership in which we were able to do something that was fairly quick. So in terms of, how long did it take us to actually do this? Start to finish, it was about 4 months. We probably spent a month of it just negotiating a contract once we got through the pilot. The last 2 months have been about tuning the system. And where we've gotten to is about 96% accuracy for the support questions that come in. We ran a pilot, about a month-long pilot, and did it with about a dozen of our customers, some of the higher volume customers. We were able to shift all of that call volume to the chatbot online. So clear winner for us as we move forward. Oh, that's fine. Kind of learnings and next steps for us. No, actually go back to the previous one. So we have about 2,500 documents. We have several hundred training videos, lots of different knowledge-based articles. And, as we went through that, one of the biggest learnings, as we go to the next slide, was it's really important that all that content be accurate. As they start to index it and you pull up the results, you start to see where the inaccuracies in your documentation actually sit. And it allowed us to very quickly go through and really improve our underlying documentation in that process. Second thing we had to do, we really had to stay on the team, both sides of the team, because both sides were learning, and sometimes you get into, well, I'll just wait for the response. Responses take a couple days to come back, and we were losing days. So when we were able to really press on it, we really got there. The interesting thing for me is when I went to legal and wanted to roll this out, they said, when you start up the chatbot session, we need you to put a disclaimer in there that this is actually being serviced by an AI agent and may be inaccurate. And in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, I need to serve that up for all of my human people that answer the phone because they're more highly inaccurate than the information that's actually coming up. The next part of this for us is really about additional ways to get into the system, whether it's through an email interface, whether it's through voice, being able to tie those all back into a consistent workflow that works off in the back office. And I'll stop there and see if there's any questions. So we looked at 5. 2 of them met the first cut of being able to integrate with the systems that we needed it to, that were able to consume the content that we had, and handle the volume. I think we saw today billions of messages are being able to handle here. Some of the other platforms couldn't handle that volume. We take about 50,000 support calls a month, and we're trying to shift a high volume of that offline. Any other questions?
Offer medical advice, actual medical advice?
So that's a hot area topic. The question was, do we offer medical advice? The answer is no. We do not treat, we do not provide medical advice. We are a virtual assistant.
Are there others that do? Other companies that use the technology to offer medical advice? I imagine it's legal problems.
There's a nuance to this if you follow the regulatory space. The way we think of it is I'm providing a virtual assistant to the clinician. I'm providing them recommendations based off of population level information, care plan information that gets developed for that. It's the clinician that then consumes that information and makes the ultimate decision.
For example, like the drug interactions and the things that they might.
We would
feed
pull
those
up
into
drug
the clinician.
interactions and showcase those to the clinician.
Excellent. Thank you.
The use case that we're still struggling a little bit with is our training videos. So one of the things that we learned as part of the process is our training videos were really done to do on-site training or classroom training, where they were an hour long, maybe an hour and a half long. And what we ended up doing was cutting them down into 10, 15, 20-minute snippets, because it became much easier then to index into them and get the content out of that. So one of our key learnings and what we're still working through is the ability to really consume that video content and be able to serve up that clip within that video is something that people want to jump straight to. We're working on that right now.
To transcript the video. Long, like hours.
Right.
So it's important to jump directly.
And that's a work in progress now, but that's not something that worked in the first cut going through the system. Yeah.
And with those kind of implementations, is it supporting those as well, or is that something done externally by Druid?
So, yes and yes. We have people that directly work on the content, directly work with the videos, are directly QAing the system. Druid has done a lot of the back-end work, but in doing that, we've trained ourselves to do that. And the intention is to now pick this up and start to apply it to various areas of opportunity. The gentleman from Everest this morning showed all these documents coming in for an insurance claim on an automobile. We have the same issue when you do an eligibility check for a patient that's referred to service. Today you get about 100 faxes for that patient that's being admitted into a home health or a hospice setting. And the opportunity is to start to consume those as electronic documents, understand what's in them, produce a patient summary, because a lot of times the nurses will spend almost up to 4 hours going through all the documents to create a summary themselves, and then be able to, through the line of business system, go out and do an automatic eligibility check, do an automatic pre-authorization so that when you submit the claim, it'll actually come back full around. And that was part of what we saw in the Druid platform, was the ability to tie into those line of businesses.
I'm sorry. For the product team, how we can mitigate the low accuracy level of the chatbot, of the AI chatbot?
So you see, eventually we ended at 96% accuracy, which is very good.
Okay.
Yeah, so the primary was to train further the bot to recognize the specific terminology of the domain. At the beginning, we were worried that the content needs more care and updates, but in fact, it doesn't the need. So the content was very good, was just adjustments on the bot itself with fine-tuning and better parameters was the reason to get to 96% accuracy. And sometimes, yes, the bot will tell you this document is providing information in conflict with the other, contradictory, so you maybe need to revise. But this is quite rare. The bot itself with the technology allows you to have a better understanding.
So one of the key things that we've done is our support professionals use the system themselves to come back with the answer. So in terms of ensuring consistency in response, regardless of who answers the phone, they use the tool to do that just because of the high accuracy. And when they find that it's not accurate, we tag it so we can go back and fix it for the rest of the community.
We did, within a month, 3 test sessions, each of them like a week. It's true that during that time, we also developed the automated testing tool. Because at the beginning, we asked MatrixCare with their people to test, and was a lot of time consumed. But then we developed this automated test, and we imported the previous conversation history and used it to automatically test. And this was a huge performance. We've been able then to do daily iterations, and we ended up to 96%.
We consider it a huge success internally. It's really just totally changed the way that we provide customer support and service. Yes. So we're actually in the process of rolling out the second.
Via email. So right now it's on chat. Now comes email. And I hope you consider voice as well.
And we'll do that. And we're also rolling it across multiple different divisions as we go forward across ResMed. It's just been seen to be a huge cost reduction. So today, those eligibility, authorizations, claim submissions, we have interfaces that we've built for that this company's been in place 20 years, had lots of different names. So during that time, we have our own interfaces, but there's also, a dozen different public interfaces for the same thing that we also use. But we have APIs, web service interfaces to those that we've just hooked them right to. Yeah. There was another.
How large is the organization? I probably missed that. How many divisions?
Yes. So ResMed is a global company, $4 billion in revenue. Where we started this was in that MatrixCare spot. That's probably our largest customer service, though, because usually the way sleep services are sold, they're actually sold through a dealer network, and the dealers are the first tier of support. But in this space right here, across that group, we probably do 250,000, support calls a month. We have at any one time, about 1.5 million patients in working through the system, and about 150,000 clinicians use the system on a day-to-day basis. So it's pretty scalable in that regard. So we have not pushed it out to be patient engagement yet. This has been purely about how the clinicians that are our customers use it. The next step that we want to roll out is the patient engagement side to that. And so, yeah, we would have to get them to say, yes, I agree to have my information shared, et cetera, et cetera. But we do that today through our web portals anyway, so that the foundation's already there, the back-end systems are already there. It's really about just grafting this on top of it. Yeah, so we just went GA about 3 weeks ago, but we ran a month-plus pilot with that dozen customers, and that dozen customers, they quit calling. They all went online. The only time they call now is if something's really broke.
And we have the target from you assigned, 60% of the incoming support calls to be handled by Druid. So
That's the target.
yeah, we wake up in the morning and we see where we are with this target.
All right.
Evan?
So in terms of end user acceptance, right, do you anticipate any challenges from patients to trust AI systems over human healthcare, human providers or human agents when it comes to sharing complex, sensitive medical information about themselves?
So we started with the clinicians because there was less sensitivity to that. And we've been very clear, again, we don't provide medical care, we don't make a recommendation or a treatment. And in the clinical community, we have had zero pushback on rolling this out. And in fact, one of the things that we want to do as we go forward, I walked into a customer the other day and she came in and she laid down 10 binders that were about that thick that had their own training content in it, that sits on top of our training content. We want to start to allow our customers to take their training content, layer it into the same model so that their people are getting their specific training built on top of ours. As we go to the patient side to that, I think it'll be very limited use cases as we go out. It'll be more about, tell me about my therapy or provide feedback, how am I feeling today, those types of things, where you're trying to get more subjective information to back up the objective information that's being captured by the nurse or by equipment in the home.
And we have experience for patient-facing bots. In 2 cases with 2 clinics, they enabled the chat snippet on the home page in the middle of the day. And because they want to see how the engagement goes, be careful at the beginning, they didn't do any promotion and any just place the bubble. In first case, I received 5 minutes later the call from the IT department, stop doing tests with our bot. I'm not doing anything. There are 500 users chatting with the bot and we just enable it in the last 5 minutes. So I think it's in the human nature. People are looking now in the website and if they see the bubble icon, they just go there. So there are no worries, it's just a need that exists and needs to be responded. And from that moment, more than half of the visitors on the website are not leaving the home page. Before the bot in there, looking at the Google Analytics, the website chart is like this, the web pages. They are navigating like crazy within the site looking for information. Once you place the bubble, they don't leave the home. And in Druid Analytics, you see exactly what is the interest of the patients visiting the website. It's a transformation, a big transformation.
The other point I would make on your question is it's not just the patients, it's the non-professional caregivers that have the most questions. Think about yourself if you had a parent that went through a home health episode or a hospice episode. You're the one that's actually being the care provider. The nurse shows up for an hour, every 3rd day. It's that person that wants to know, what did the nurse say? What was the results from the night before? How are they feeling? Is their activities of daily living similar to what they were the day before that? And those types of things, those non-professional caregivers, they just want access to the information.
Anything else? Any other questions? We're good?
That was fun. Thank you.
Man. Yes, yes.